Hello everyone, my name is Sniping is Fun, and welcome you all back to the next video. I want to present to all of you here on YouTube another gaming related topic discussion I wanted to talk about for all of you. And just like the whole E3 2021 situation, it's been something I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. And I think I know I've mentioned this before in a YouTube video years ago. I'm sure I've talked about this at some point, definitely on YouTube. I know I've talked about it on Facebook and all over the internet probably as well. And I know countless other gamers, Nintendo gamers especially, have mentioned the same thing. And it's basically, and it's also should be common knowledge because if you've been playing video games for a long time now, and especially if you've been playing Nintendo games, you know exactly what the topic entails. And it is that Nintendo sits on way too many of their franchises. And I'm not saying it's just a Nintendo thing, and don't I'm going to be doing a video eventually on gaming as a whole, because if you look in, like, since gaming started back like in the 70s, how many franchises have came and went? How many franchises came around their time, they disappeared, and very rarely these franchises come back. But yeah, this is specifically a Nintendo video because if I had to say like which company like was one of the biggest, you know, companies to do something like this, one of them would be Nintendo, because since their inception in the gaming industry back in the 70s, how many franchises do you know that Nintendo's made? They made it for a set period of time, and then that franchise disappeared. They never brought that franchise back. They never brought any of that stuff back. And sometimes, maybe rarely, one game comes back and gets revived and then it disappears again. It's like Disney with their Disney Vault. Oh, we're going to pull our movies out of the vault for a short period of time that you guys can buy it. And then when that time is done, we're going to throw those movies back into the Disney Vault and lock it up. You know, I'm just saying, like, it's one of those situations, like I just don't know. Like, as a fan of Nintendo and a gamer since I was about probably 5 years old, and that is dating myself back, that'd be about 95 ish, the Game Boy, Super Nintendo, and whatnot. I've been playing practically every Nintendo system since, and I've played practically every single Nintendo franchise under the sun. And one of the biggest, you know, companies to do something like this is Nintendo, because they have so many franchises, so many beloved franchises that get the love they deserve in something like Smash Brothers. But from the company themselves, oh no, we're not going to make a new F-Zero. Oh no, we're not going to make a new Star Fox, a Wave Race, a Sin and Punishment, a Golden Sun, a 10A Snowboarding, a new Punch Out, a new freaking Kid Icarus, anything new from Ice Climber, no new pro wrestling. You know, like, in some of these aren't even full blown franchises, they're one off games that they never did anything else with. No more Excite Bike, no more Muddy Mole, or Mole Mania is a specific game. You know, no more any of these other franchises that have come and went. They've had one or two games and then disappeared, and then other ones have had countless games and they just disappeared. And I'm not saying this as a way for Nintendo, or when I'm talking about all the video game companies, that they need to bring out all these franchises all the time, because that gets a bit redundant, and I'm not trying to force their creativity into making something that, you know, I want, or gamers want. But at the same time, that's exactly what it is, because we're fans of these franchises. We love these franchises, and a lot of them have been gone for a long freaking time. Some of them 10 plus years, and it's really sad, having grown up with Nintendo, played all these franchises, and not seen anything of sort from these franchises in a long freaking time. Nintendo is probably one of the worst accusers, one of the worst, you know, culprits of misusing their franchises and not using them in a long period of time, letting their franchises die, letting their franchises just fade into, you know, nothing, not using them forever. Sakurai at least uses the characters in like Smash Brothers, but that only goes so far, and that's cool to see, like Captain Falcon or Fox or Samus or these characters in Smash Bros. Or the franchises that don't even get a character, to see them get a stage, to see them get music, hell, even a spirit or a trophy or a sticker or a mention somewhere, some little cameo, some little something, to see it in that franchise, to at least show that someone like Sakurai at least cares to show off the history of Nintendo and the history of gaming through Smash Brothers in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not a character on the roster. But the company itself as a whole, Nintendo is just one of the biggest culprits of that, ideology of them pretty much not using X amount of the franchises in a while. Like, in recent years, let's look at the last maybe 10 years, so we're 20, about 2011, we've seen, okay, Mario gets releases all the time, as does Zelda, and then Pokemon, and then there's Smash Brothers, and Kirby gets a decent amount. Donkey Kong gets a somewhat, but we haven't really seen a new Donkey Kong game since Tropical Freeze on the Wii U. I know they ported it to the Switch, but that was a port. That wasn't even a new game. What else has been new lately? They've been used. Kid Icarus was on the 3DS. They made new franchises like Xenoblade, Splatoon, Dylan's Rolling Western, that one on the phone game, I forgot what it's specifically called, with the Dragon Prince dude. They've made new franchises too. See, that's the thing though. I get that as an industry, gaming has to go forward. I get that. Like, companies have to keep bringing out new franchises. They have to keep pressing new stuff. And I know a lot of people complain about Nintendo relying on the same old stuff, but at the same time, Nintendo has brought out new games. Just like other companies, Nintendo's brought out a good chunk of new franchises, new IPs within the last decade-ish or so. So that, I get that sometimes you have to move forward and not everything can come along, and some things are just best left in the past because maybe they won't be financially stable now or have as much fanfare now or so on and so forth. But I see, like, there should be a balance. There should be a balance. Nintendo should be able to continuously lose some of their franchises, the big and the small ones. I'm not saying these franchises come out every single year. I'm not saying that they have to come out all the time. What I'm saying is there's many franchises they have under their belt that have fan bases. Every single one of their franchises have at least some form of a fan base, and they're all left in the dust when you don't make a new one. And I know it's like, they're not the big ones like the Marios, the Zeldas, and the Pokemon and whatnot, but those franchises deserve their love too. But I also know they have to do that while also pushing forward and making new franchises. Sony does that, Microsoft does that, Capcom, Konami, when they actually do anything, and they haven't done anything in forever, so I don't know why I even just mentioned them there. Sega and Square Enix and Namco, all these gaming companies, Ubisoft and Activision and EA, Grasshopper Studios, Mistwalker, who else am I missing? Atari, for what they still technically do in the gaming industry. They have, over the years, back in the past and now currently, for the companies that are still functional and around, they continue to make new IPs, but also use some of their old IPs. They find a balance, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well. And when I get to the full-blown industry video, I'll talk about it then, because I'm going to do a second part to this video, probably within a week or so, talking about the whole gaming industry as a whole. But this is for Nintendo only. But they still, utilize some old franchises and some new franchises. Nintendo does that. They do bring franchises back. I'm not going to say they don't, and they haven't. Like, Kid Icarus got revived on the 3DS. Punch-Out got revived on the Wii and whatnot. And frickin', like, Pikmin came back on the Wii U, but then what happened to these franchises after that? Nothing. Nothing's happened to Kid Icarus since Sakurai took a break from Smash and decided to make Kid Icarus upgrades on the 3DS. Nintendo didn't even capitalize on that franchise, on those voice actors, on that story, on that world, on that lore at all. They could have easily made a second one. They didn't need Sakurai to do that. They have other creators. Sakurai wasn't even the original creator of the franchise. Someone else can come in there and take the helm of it and move that franchise forward. Punch-Out got revived on the Wii. One of the best Punch-Out games ever, pretty much next to the original Super Punch-Out and the arcade games, and pretty much the entire series is a fun freaking franchise, and it's a lovable cast of characters. Why haven't they done anything with that? It's just, makes me so mad and also saddens me and confuses me all at once. All these things that Nintendo, with all their great, legendary, iconic franchises, sits on so many of them and hasn't done a damn thing in forever for a lot of them. And I'm saying that as I understand about them pushing forward, using the newer, creating newer franchises, which they do end up doing, people. They have done. We've had at least 5 franchises within the last decade. You know, to be reasonable with new franchises too, as well as use the classics that fans love. But at the same time, I understand also they're using the big ones, the ones that sell the most, because some of these franchises sadly never made a whole lot of money, but they still have fan bases. They still have money. They still have a chance to make something of themselves. They still could sell, especially if you advertise right. With these franchises being gone 10 plus years, people's anticipation, people's demand, people wanting to see them, something like an F-Zero, something like a Golden Sun, something like an Advanced Wars, will literally hype up most people, because fans have been wanting that stuff for a long time. Will get hype and will want to buy it because it's been building over the years since the last time we had a game. But the newer fans that never got to experience that stuff can get drawn into a new IP, because for them, that's a new IP. That's something they've never played before. Unless you can play this stuff like on a virtual console / some sort of digital gaming service, they've never played most of those games. So they get a chance to actually experience it for themselves as a new fan. But Nintendo, I just don't get it. I really don't. Like, how many franchises? I'm going to count when the last time we saw some of this stuff. Like F-Zero, for example. I mention this all the time because I want F-Zero so damn badly. That's the franchise, for me particularly, I want to see back from them. The last time we saw a game from that was in 2004 on the Game Boy Advance, and we never even got the damn game. F-Zero Climax, which was based off the anime. It had the track header. It just looked like a really fun game. And I played GP Legend. GP Legend was a blast. Reminded me back when I was growing up playing the Super Nintendo one, the original. It was freaking awesome. And it's a more improved version. And we never get it because the franchise started selling horrible here. And the last console one we got was in 2003, F-Zero GX. One of the best and hardest in the franchise. I get that, but Sega did a damn good job with it, and I would love to have seen them bring it back. I literally, 4 years, at every E3, I'm like, F-Zero, please bring an F-Zero out. And every year I was disappointed. That is the franchise for me that I want back the most. You have stuff like Golden Sun, and I know that's not specifically a Nintendo first-party franchise. It's Camelot. And they're kind of busy with all the sports stuff, but I'm hoping after they make this golf game next month, they can get on something that's not a Mario sports game. A Golden Sun 4 would be great, Nintendo. The last time we got one of those was in 2010 with Dark Dawn on the DS. And I know a lot of people don't like Dark Dawn, but Dark Dawn was still a pretty damn good game. It was a legit new entry in the series, and that's the last time anyone's ever seen it. Sin and Punishment, Treasure. The last time I saw that was like 2010 on the Wii, and it was a fun as hell game. I never even played the original until the Wii Virtual Console, which was a Japanese import. I played that game and I beat it on easy, and that game was hard on easy, and the game on the Wii is hard too. It's a challenging but yet fun franchise with cool characters in a cool universe. It's a running gun type shoot, on rail shooter type thing. That's a franchise they don't even have their IP. That's a type of genre. They don't even have another IP that matches that genre. That could be, and the Wii doesn't even have, the Switch doesn't even have really any on-rail shooters that much, besides probably the new House of Dead remake that's coming out, and a few little things here and there. It's a genre that's ripe for the picking on the Switch, and people would like a Sin and Punishment 3, Wave Race. Last time we saw that on the freaking Wii in 2000, not the Wii, the GameCube in 2001 with Blue Storm, 2003, 1080 Avalanche on the GameCube. We haven't seen one of those in forever. Custom Robo Arena on the DS was like 2007. Excitebike, the last time we saw anything legit from that was that WiiWare game in the Wii, in 2010, 11. We haven't seen a Wario Land since Wario Land Shake It. I know they still push WarioWare, and I know it's technically Wario's main franchise now, but a lot of people love Wario Land and Wario World. That's where he came from. That's where he stemmed from. That is his main franchise. Why don't we have a new one? Elite Beat Agents, the O&N series. That got 2 games in Japan. We got Elite Beat Agents here, which is the U.S. translated, localized American English music soundtrack. Why never got one of those? We never got another one. We never got one on 3DS. We never got one on anything else. Nothing else of that franchise. And 2 games in Japan. So it's gotten 3 games. And the last one was, I think, like 2007, I think. They're just sitting on so many franchises, beloved franchises that fans want. Advance Wars, the last time was 2009 on the DS. And, you know, what was it? Days of Ruin was fun. I know it was more of a darker, grittier reboot of the franchise, but I thought it was a freaking fun as hell game. And it was different, but yet still the same as the Game Boy Advance ones. They did Battalion Wars, and it came off the Famicom Wars franchise. Why haven't we got a new Wars game at all? Pro Wrestling, cool, like, arcadey, like, wrestling game from the NES, never got a sequel. Ice Climber, never got a sequel. None of these franchises got sequels. None of these franchises got continuations. Metroid is in limbo right now, has been in limbo forever. I know we got Metroid Prime 4 confirmed a few years ago, but that's still not out. And there's a rumor this 2D Metroid is coming out, but that's still a rumor. We do not know. But Metroid is one of their top franchises. And they do almost nothing with it. And I know that's probably one of the biggest not sellers. People say it's one of the big, and this is what I kind of sad. As much as I'm not a Metroid fan, as much as some of you guys out there, Metroid's one of their biggest IPs, but it's also one of their IPs that sold the least, which I can see why it's kind of sad. Like, it's just such on different spectrums kind of thing. But it's like this. I know it's just so many other franchises from them. I know in Mother, at least in that regard, the Mother franchise from the creator basically said he was done after 3. But that still doesn't explain why you never localized 3, Nintendo. Oh my god. No new Yoshi still gets some releases here and there, but like I'd love to see just a new Yoshi that's not like gimmicky like the yarn and the wool. Can we just have a new Yoshi's story? Can we just have a new Mario World Yoshi's Island? I would like to see that too. I'd like to see Yoshi not have to be gimmicked to come out. It's sad, people. It really is. I love Nintendo as much as the next guy, and I'm one of the biggest fanboys probably of that company. But one of the biggest negatives this company has ever had is that they don't use majority of their franchises and they let them die. They always do Mario and Pokemon and Zelda and Kirby and Donkey Kong and Fire Emblem. Now, the good thing about this, they finally they made it a point where Fire Emblem is one of their heavily pushed franchises when it used to not be that heavily pushed. Now it's one of their key franchises they push a lot. I commend them for that, given that I love Fire Emblem, and Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But everything else is just sprinkled in there and not really utilized at all. And it's kind of sad, especially with how many of these franchises, as iconic as they are, as old as they are, as classic as they are, and they're sitting on them. There's nothing except Smash Bros. That does anything for these games, besides them getting old ports and releases on the Wii Virtual Console and the NES and Super Nintendo arcade things. When you buy Nintendo online for $20, you get to have the Super Nintendo and NES like arcade library, like channel things, and just playing these old games. But people want new stuff. They want newer entries in these franchises, return of these franchises. Just like many other companies out there, Nintendo has a bunch of franchises they're sitting on, and gamers are clamoring, clawing their ways, trying to get Nintendo's attention, and they're not doing anything. But this is my thought process right now, where I want to end this video at, because I've been going about 18 minutes now. This is where I want to end it, and this is where I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's somewhere over the rainbow. There's potential in this scenario I'm thinking of if Nintendo capitalizes on it, and that is using the Switch to bring some of these franchises back. All of these franchises, majority of franchises, push franchises back. The 9th generation for Nintendo with the Switch has been one of the biggest generations for Nintendo in forever. 8th generation, all they really had was the 3DS that pushed it forward. The Wii U bombed hard. They didn't have anything with it. There was no chance they were going to risk bringing out any franchises from the dead on that. The Wii, during the 7th generation, the DS was kicking ass. The Wii was kicking ass. They were destroying. They were major selling consoles. But I guess hardware or controls or some stupid reason was holding them back from bringing franchises back. But popularity and push wise, if they brought a franchise out on there, at least more eyes would be on it. But they'd never capitalize on that. This is, my opinion, the 9th generation with the Switch is probably the first generation since the GameCube, when they were in 6th generation, and even the N64 in 5th and the Super Nintendo in 4th, that Nintendo has the sales, the fan base, the market, the advertising that they can easily use to bring these franchises back. You know how freaking popular the Switch is? It's selling about 55 plus million copies and going, and it still has about 4 to 5 years left before Nintendo jumps to the 10th generation, jumps next time. And it's going to be boosted up even more if this rumored Switch Pro model, this 3rd Switch, is even remotely true. Nintendo needs to capitalize and use this generation with how freaking popular the Switch is to start making new entries in all these franchises, so that more eyes, like, you know how all the eyes are looking on the Switch right now. They want games. Gamers want games. Nintendo games, third-party games, first, second, third-party games, a bunch of games. They just want games, games, games. And if you start bringing out these new IPs, new entries for these old IPs, newer fans get to experience these franchises probably for the first time. Older fans get what they love, and these franchises were brought back from the dead. The attention, the eyes are on the Switch right now. This is the generation. 9th generation is the generation Nintendo can use to bring franchises back from the dead, to revive franchises like F-Zero, Sin and Punishment, Elite Beat Agents, 1080, Advance Wars, Golden Sun, Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, Metroid, which it already is anyways, regardless. You know, all these other franchises, they can make new pro wrestling. They can make a new freaking Pilot Wings. They can make a new anything. Ice Climber. They can make a new Mach Rider. They can make a new anything from these franchises. New Mario Strikers, for that matter, if we want to do our Mario sports games. Please have our Strikers, Nintendo. This is the generation, 9th generation, the Switch, with how many eyes are on that system that Nintendo can capitalize and bring these franchises back. And at least there's enough attention on it that these games will at least sell worthwhile to make something of them. They don't have to sell bucket loads. Practically every single game that Nintendo's released on the Switch has at least sold something. It doesn't have to be the biggest multi-million seller. It just needs to be enough to make profit and sell, and most of their games have done that. And that's my thought process. That is what I think. Nintendo, I so don't understand this situation. And what about you guys out there? What do you guys think? Do you think Nintendo's sitting on way too many franchises? And which Nintendo franchises do you specifically want to see them revive and bring back? Because for me, it is still F-Zero, Sin and Punishment, Advance Wars, Golden Sun, and Wave Race. Oh, and don't forget Elite Beat Agents. Those are the ones I want the most, especially F-Zero and Advance Wars. That's my video. My name is Sniper Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you all later in the next video. Bye, everyone.